are most definitely one of the hardest topics for anyone to talk about. You can't just sit there and say, oh, it's easy, because it never turns out to be. One minute he's cool, the next minute he's not, and it all just turns into a big hassle in the end if you're not approaching it the right way. What is the right way? I don't know. Nobody really knows, actually. And it's hard to describe any way to say what a man is. I haven't been around long enough to tell you all these different steps in order to assure that you'll get a perfect guy or anything. Because honestly, I don't know. Nobody knows. And there really is no such thing as a perfect man. So I'll just tell you my experience with guys. It might get something off my chest, and maybe in some way it can help you, all two of you that'll probably watch this. Love you. So I was in 7th grade when I had like my first boyfriend. Let's call him Quentin. Quentin was not someone I really considered a boyfriend so much as I did a really close friend. But we ended up dating, and the first time that when we started dating, it was all cool and everything, and then I took his phone so that I could call one of my friends, and a text message popped up, and it was from this girl, and it said that she'll date him, but she's not doing it for love, it's just for fun. And so the message popped up, and I didn't say anything. I just closed the phone and handed it to him, and later I told him that I didn't want to go out with him anymore, because I never told him why. I just left it as that. We ended up dating twice. The second time was actually for the same reason, and then I stopped trusting guys, and although I was asked out a couple times through my 8th grade year, I said no to everybody. So there was a little while ago, there was this guy, let's call him Connor. Now Connor was cool. When I was hanging with him, and all of his friends, like, we didn't bring any of my friends. It was all of his friends that we would always hang out, and I was one of the guys. I'd wear my baggy jeans, and I would just become one of the guys. And although I am a girl, I was more like a boy when I was around them, because we were all cool together, and we would just hang and stuff. It was cool. One day, Connor decided that it would just be me and him hanging out, and I was like, okay, that's cool. We can hang and chill. So I put on my baggy jeans and my boy shirt and all that, and it was cool. It was cool. Until he started reaching for lower areas. He went from being a bro to me. Hello, kitty. He went from being a really cool guy to someone grabbing at all sorts of areas. And I told him to stop. I told him knock it off. I told him that's not the way. But here's how it pretty much went down. Stop! Stop! What are you doing? Can I have a hug? Can I kiss you? Can I have a hug? What are you doing? Come on! Can I have a hug? What are you doing? Can I kiss you? Can I kiss you? Can I kiss you? Yeah. So that was that old thing. I haven't really talked to him since. He's still pretty into me, and it's still really creepy. I don't know. I mean, it would be completely different if I had a crush on this guy, which is bringing me to my next topic, the crush. There is definitely a reason why they call it a crush, because if it doesn't work out, you do feel crushed on the inside, and that is what happened to me. And my first crush, which actually got only a couple months ago, I never really had a crush on anybody. I thought guys were cute and everything, but my first crush started in December, which is only maybe 4 months ago. And his name is, let's call him Niall. Now, Niall, he is so good looking. I mean, everyone has their idea of a perfect man and what you want them to look like. He met most, if not all, of my demands. It was too perfect. I won't deny that. So I have this friend in my 8th period class, Andre. Andre and Niall are like this. They are great friends. So every day during 8th period, lucky me, Andre sat right next to me. So Niall would come in and talk to him, and I would be sitting right there like, so that was pretty great. And one day Andre and him were talking, kind of like discussing or debating. I wasn't really listening in on their conversation. I just stare at the bull. I mean at the guy. And then Andre turns to me and he's like, do you agree with me or do you agree with Niall? And I was like, oh, I agree with Niall. Definitely Niall. And Niall was all like, yes, thanks. And I was like, you're welcome. And then he said, what's your name? And I was like, oh, you know. And he was like, oh, cool. So after that, when he came in to talk to Andre, I would get in their conversations and I was talking too. But their conversations only lasted maybe 2 minutes because it was in between classes, and Niall is 1 year older than me, so he has different classes than I do. One day when I was at my locker, Niall comes up to me and says, hey, can I have your number? And I'm like, yeah. So of course, being the stupid one I am, I was so caught up in the moment, I wrote the wrong number, which I then had to be like, wait, no, I wrote it wrong, I'm sorry. And then his cool phone that he touched, I was now touching and putting in my number, which was pretty freaking awesome. I was at a little Asian market when he suddenly texted me. He was like, hey, you want to hang out? And I was like, yeah. So I go home and I meet up with him and we're walking and we're out for hours. We're having a great time. It was right after school on a Friday. We were both trying our best not to act like it was freezing cold outside, but it was December, so it was pretty cold. We were just walking and hanging and stuff, and then he's like, hey, Andre told me that you liked me. And I was like, Andre! But I said, yeah. And he said, oh, I like you too. Now, you can only imagine my excitement. I did absolutely everything a girl would do when she's on a date with her first crush. I tripped up. I fell, I tripped, I said things wrong, like I couldn't form sentences. I was stuck saying his name over and over. I was just like, Niall, like the whole night. take my hand, and I'm like, I get to hold hands. So I take his hand, and we're walking, and we walk around along the pipe, and we get off the pipe, and we're still holding hands. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because I was like sitting there like, oh my gosh, I'm holding his hand, I'll treasure this moment, because once we get off the tunnel, I'll have to let go. But he kept holding it, and I was like, so we were just out doing stuff from like the time, it was like maybe 4 p.m. to like night. It was like 9 at night when I got home, 9 or 10ish. We just hung out all day. And when the sun went down, we were walking along the woods. In my area, we have a lot of woods. It's very nice, lots of fun. And we were walking through one of them, and he just suddenly stops, and he goes, "Hey, you want sex? It's gonna be real good. It don't hurt. We're gonna have a good time. What's the matter? I like you and you like me, so I don't see why we can't." The accent is because he's from Asia. He just got here a couple years ago, so yeah, he still has an accent. It's really cute though. What I'm thinking is in my mind is a whole lot of curse words, and I'm kind of crying on the inside too, because I really thought this guy liked me. But if he's asking for something like that on the first time we start hanging out, then obviously he doesn't actually like me the way that I liked him. So he spends maybe about 10-15 minutes trying to convince me, and I keep making excuses why I'm not going to. And then we just kind of sit in silence in the cold, and I'm wet from the creek for like a good, like another 15 minutes. We just kind of sat there. I'm like, and he just sat down, and I just kind of merged my way to the right a little bit, so I was like at least a little bit further away from him. Like, you'll play him. I was like, kind of going away. And when I was far enough away where he kind of had to talk a little louder to talk to me, he was like, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "Nowhere, nowhere. I'm not going anywhere." And then he's like, "Okay." And then I get a call from my mom saying that I should go home. And I thought it was a good idea to go home anyway. So we just get up and start walking home. He lets me hold his hand because I realized that this will be like my only time with him. So he lets me hold his hand on the way home, and then he walks me to my house and we hug, and I think that's it. That's the story of my first crush and how I was crushed so horribly. We didn't talk in school. He stopped coming to talk to Andre. And I thought that was it. That's the end. But no. A couple days after that, I'm back to hanging out with Connor and our little group thing, and I get a text saying, "Hey, I know you don't want to have sex, but we can still hang out." And so I'm like, he's like, "I'm at the park if you want to hang out." Now the park from where I was, me and Connor's friends and everyone, we just walk everywhere because we don't have cars. So I was like, yeah. So there was a big hill leading from the little place that I was at to where he was, and it's pretty far, but I ran there. I just ran all the way there, and I met up with him, and we just walked and we hung out, and he was like, I'm sorry for pressuring you and stuff, I shouldn't have done that. And I thought that was pretty cool of him. So we still hang out, and we're still friends, and I've actually had a little kissy from him before, so I'm pretty happy. I'm still crushing on him even though he did that, and I know nothing's gonna come out of it, but I like it this way because, you know, maybe it wasn't the fact that I wanted him so bad as opposed to the fact that I just wanted him to be friends with me. Yeah, so that's the story of my first crush. Now, I'm not saying don't have a crush, because you need to crush. It's kind of something that helps you as a person get your feelings out somewhat. I have a friend, let's call her Olive, and Olive has never had a boyfriend before, and she is turning 16, and she has been turned down by many guys, and she only plays truth or dare games on the off chance that she'll get dared to kiss someone, and she's gone a little crazy about it, boy obsessive, let's call it. So now it's like any guy that talks to her, she wants to go out with them. So I think it's good to have crushes because you can get those feelings out. The thing that Olive doesn't do is that when she has feelings for someone, she keeps them to herself and to her girlfriends. She doesn't let it out to the guy she's crushing on, because obviously Andre did it for me, I didn't have to, but I was getting ready mentally. I was preparing for what I was going to say to Niall. And honestly, as of my life right now, I really wouldn't want it any other way. And you know, guys are jerks, but I can't live without them.